We got some breaking news in the Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell cover-up scandal, and all of it is bad for Donald Trump. Got 3 new emails that were just released by the Oversight Committee, obviously a reaction to the reporting that Ghislaine Maxwell is seeking to have her sentence commuted, clemency be granted to her by Donald Trump. Not so fast, says the Oversight Committee, based on these emails, none of which are good for Donald Trump. One that suggests that he spent hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with an underage or girl victim. And then some other reporting about Michael Wolff, the reporter. Let's put this in context here on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. You've got today Representative Adelita Grijalva from the 7th District in Congress from Arizona, who is going to be sworn in. They had to reopen Congress finally in order to presumably to end the shutdown. And one byproduct of that is that Grijalva, who won a special election over 6 weeks ago, will finally be sworn in. What's the impact of that on the Epstein scandal? She will sign the discharge petition, giving 218 signatures to get out of a committee a bill to the House floor to release all of the Epstein files to the American people. That happened today. And that, of course, is terrible for Donald Trump because it keeps the Epstein scandal and his cover-up involvement alive. We also have separate reporting that came out this week that Republican congresspeople who have been briefed about what's inside the Epstein files believe they are worse for Donald Trump and for others than previously reported. And that's coming out of some new reporting as well. So you have those two things as a backdrop. Ghislaine Maxwell seeking to have her sentence commuted, reporting that she's getting a sweetheart treatment, like a Beverly Hills style treatment within her federal prison, which is pissing off a lot of other prisoners and people providing oversight. And now you have the new emails. Let's get to the emails. Here's the 3, and we'll post them in Legal AF Substack. First, you have the email about from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, April 2nd, 2011. I want you to realize that the dog that has embarked is Trump. Blacked out, redacted victim's name, spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. I'm not sure what that exactly means. Ghislaine Maxwell responds, I've been thinking about that. So here we have Epstein in real time in 2011 saying that Donald Trump spent hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house, apparently, with a victim. And that he's surprised that Donald Trump hasn't been implicated back in 2011 when there were all this reporting that had broken out in the British press about Epstein. And Ghislaine Maxwell agrees. Recall that when Ghislaine Maxwell was interviewed, I'm going to show you a clip here, she denied in her deposition that was released by Donald Trump's Department of Justice that Donald Trump had done anything wrong. Well, apparently she had forgotten this email. And of course, Todd Blanche, who did the investigation for Donald Trump, the evaluation of her testimony, didn't have these documents, didn't want these documents, and didn't ask her about these documents. So she obviously lied to the American people and to Todd Blanche. Let's play the clip of that interview and then put it up against this email. Let's run it.
Photographs of Mr. Epstein and President Trump together.
Yes.
And there's photographs of, I think you're in some of the photographs as well. Those all appear to be social settings.
Yes. That's my memory. There were social settings. I don't know Epstein's, if he had, whatever the nature of the president's friendship, if you will, or however you want to define that with Epstein, I was never witness. I think they were friendly, like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in any of, I don't recall it.
I've been thinking about a victim who had spent hours with Donald Trump in Jeffrey Epstein's house and what that could mean. Ghislaine Maxwell seems to have forgotten all that when she's trying to pretty herself up and act like a victim in order to get her sentence commuted and get a pardon. Then there's an interesting email exchange. Michael Wolff in 2015 had an exchange, the journalist, with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, He's written a number of books about Trump. He was working on a book about Jeffrey Epstein. He's been very public about the information and knowledge he obtained. Here, though, there's an exchange between Michael Wolff and Jeffrey Epstein about if Jeffrey Epstein is questioned or Donald Trump is questioned and how that should go. A little bit of PR coaching here, it appears at first blush. Michael Wolff to Epstein: I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterwards. This is December 15th, 2015. And he then says, Epstein says in response, if you were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? And he writes back to Epstein, I think you should let him hang himself, talking about Trump. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency, meaning Epstein knows that's not true. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like you could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. So there's a little bit of coaching by Michael Wolff, the journalist. And then you have on the resignation issue, Donald Trump always says he had Jeffrey Epstein resign. He barred him from Mar-a-Lago when he found out he was a creep. Through other reporting, we think the timeline is different. We think the timeline is Donald Trump had a fight with Jeffrey Epstein over a $44 million piece of property in Palm Beach County. And when Donald Trump had to bid more than he wanted to, because Jeffrey Epstein was the stalking horse in the auction at the courthouse, he sort of was pissed off about it. And that is the beginning of the end of the friendship between Epstein and Trump, having nothing to do with him thinking he was a creep. Although that doesn't help Donald Trump, because if he thought he was a creep, he thought he was a creep because he was sexually abusing girls, raping them. And if he knew that at the time, why didn't Donald Trump report that to the authorities? Here's what the Q&A between Wolff and Epstein is in 2019 about a victim whose name is blacked out, Mar-a-Lago. And Trump said he asked me to resign, but I'd never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. What could that be? Ghislaine Maxwell using as a predator the hunting ground of Mar-a-Lago to get women, girls, as Epstein calls them, over to Jeffrey Epstein and allowing it, and then deciding to tell him to stop. So all Trump did was to tell Ghislaine Maxwell to stop her predator behavior of picking up girls and having them be sexually exploited and raped by Jeffrey Epstein. He doesn't call the authorities. He doesn't call the police. He doesn't call out his friends like Prince Andrew. I mean, this revelation obviously calculated these three emails now to push back against and shove back against the drumbeat to try to get Ghislaine Maxwell and her pardon, her asking for all of that, the new reporting that shows that what's inside of the files, which hopefully will now be released by Grijalva, now Adelita Grijalva, Representative Grijalva, being sworn in and signing the discharge petition. This is now regaining momentum now that the government is about to reopen. We'll continue to follow it, all of it, as Donald Trump continues to cover up what some reporting has said is even worse information inside of the files about him than had previously been disclosed. And these emails indicate hours spent with a victim, a girl, in Jeffrey Epstein's home. Jeffrey Epstein questioning why no one's going after Donald Trump, shaping the PR around Donald Trump and his involvement. Donald Trump knowing about Ghislaine Maxwell using Mar-a-Lago as a predator hunting ground. That's just this week, folks. We'll continue to follow it. I'm glad you're here. Hit the free subscribe button on MeidasTouch. Come over to Legal AF YouTube. Do the exact same thing. Help us continue to grow. We're about to grow over our 1 million subscriber base number on Legal AF YouTube. And I will post these emails on Legal AF Substack for you as well. Till my next report, I'm Michael Popak. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.